Nothing in the chaotic and unpredictable world of reality television could have prepared fans for what unfolded in 2025, a year that redefined scandal in the 90 Day Fiancé universe and shook viewers to their core. What started as another day of filming, another argument between in-laws, another setup destined to ignite drama, spiraled into a shocking on-camera declaration that sent shockwaves through the franchise and left millions of fans questioning what was real, what was staged, and what the future would hold. Andre Castrovet, one of the most divisive and volatile figures ever to grace the TLC reality juggernaut, stood in front of cameras and delivered a fiery proclamation that stopped everyone cold. His voice boomed, his accent cut sharp, and his words carried a venom that no script could have manufactured. "I'm not playing this fake game anymore. I've had enough of TLC and will leave before they ruin my family and myself." With that one explosive moment, he ignited a storm that spread from the soundstage to social media to the very boardrooms of TLC itself. And beside him, his wife Elizabeth, blindsided, betrayed, and devastated, began a slow-motion unraveling that would turn into one of the most painful collapses in franchise history. The cameras didn't cut away. They lingered. Crew members, seasoned veterans of breakdowns, meltdowns, and tantrums, froze in disbelief. For years, they had witnessed fights that pushed boundaries, tears that blurred reality and performance, but what Andre had just done transcended the usual theatrics. This was a man detonating his own storyline in front of millions, a man who wanted to appear in control even as the walls were closing in. Elizabeth's eyes widened, tears immediately spilling down her face. She had not been warned. Insiders would later reveal that she walked onto that set believing it would be just another exhausting day of contrived arguments and family tensions, unaware that her husband was about to drop a bomb that would obliterate their carefully constructed reality TV world. For Elizabeth, this wasn't just another fight between Andre and her siblings, another night of scripted chaos. This was her life, her livelihood, and her reputation detonating in real time. When Andre stormed away from the cameras, fists clenched and chest heaving, producers scrambled. One attempted to coax him back, whispering to sit down, to finish the scene, to at least give them something they could work with. He refused. His parting words, laced with fury, rang out, "Oh, you think I'm interested in this dumb show? No, they mock us and take advantage of us. I'm finished, completed. I resign before I'm expelled. You can send TLC to hell." Elizabeth sobbed on camera, begging producers to stop filming, pleading for the footage never to see the light of day. But the uncut clip, raw and unfiltered, quickly became one of the most rewatched, analyzed, and debated moments in 90 Day history once it inevitably surfaced. Online forums erupted within minutes. Was Andre truly walking away? Was he finally exposing the dark underbelly of reality television, the manipulation, the exploitation? Or was it all just another performance, another ploy to spin his looming termination into a power move? Social media lit up like a firestorm. Reddit threads dissected every frame, some hailing Andre as a truth-teller who dared to confront the system, others mocking his obvious attempt to get ahead of the inevitable firing. Twitter, now rebranded as X, trended with hashtags like Adar Andre quits, Adaraj TLC drama, and Elizabeth breaks. Instagram comment sections turned into battlegrounds as fans argued over whether Elizabeth should continue to stand by her man or finally break free from his controlling grip. In the span of a few hours, Andre had not only changed the trajectory of his own life, but had also pulled Elizabeth into a maelstrom of speculation, humiliation, and heartbreak. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that Andre's resignation was not the triumphant stand he portrayed, but rather a desperate attempt to control the narrative before the truth came out. TLC executives had for months been discussing his removal. He had become increasingly volatile, lashing out at producers, refusing to follow planned storylines, and berating crew members. His confrontations with Elizabeth's siblings had escalated to uncomfortable extremes, and fan complaints were piling up. Sponsors were quietly distancing themselves. For all the drama he brought on screen, Andre had become, in the words of one insider, a nightmare to work with. TLC was prepared to cut him loose, but Andre got to the punch first, seizing the cameras to declare he was leaving of his own volition. What fans saw as a shocking act of bravery was, in reality, an illusion of control carefully crafted by a man desperate to mask the truth. Elizabeth, meanwhile, was unraveling. Those who knew her behind the curtain described a woman caught in the crossfire of her husband's pride and the network's cold calculations. She had always tried to mediate between Andre's temper and her family's frustrations, smoothing over conflicts and keeping the cameras rolling. But now, faced with the knowledge that her husband had made a career-altering decision without consulting her, she felt betrayed. She cried not only for the embarrassment, not only for the loss of income, but for the collapse of the fragile balance she had spent years trying to maintain. Friends would later reveal that she begged producers not to air the footage, sobbing that she hadn't signed up for this. Yet the footage aired, edited into a dramatic cliffhanger, and Elizabeth's humiliation was broadcast to millions. Her collapse was not about wealth or fame. It was about control. For years, she had worked tirelessly to contain Andre's rage, to control the narrative, to keep their family's image intact in the eyes of fans and producers alike. Now, all that control slipped from her grasp. Andre's outburst had stripped her of agency, leaving her the wife of a man who wasn't just volatile but reckless, willing to risk their livelihood for the sake of pride. "I can't believe he did this on camera," she reportedly told her sister Jen privately. "Everything is being ruined by him. I intended to continue, but he has now made me appear foolish. And yet the deeper truth was darker still. Long before Andre's infamous mic drop moment, TLC executives had already begun preparing for his exit. By late 2024, behind-the-scenes tensions had escalated to breaking point. Crew members whispered about his hostile behavior, producers documented his refusal to cooperate, and incidents of aggression grew harder to ignore. The final straw, according to insiders, came during a family photo shoot when Andre exploded after being asked to reshoot a scene with Elizabeth's father, Chuck. He reportedly smashed a door, hurled an insult at a producer, and stormed out, accusing TLC of scripting fake interactions. The incident reached the top executives, who began seriously discussing the risks of keeping him on the show. Emails circulated. Meetings were held. By early 2025, it was no longer a question of if Andre would be fired, but when. The network, however, had to be strategic. 90 Day Fiancé thrived on continuity, on long arcs that allowed fans to become invested in couples' journeys. Simply cutting Andre without explanation could jeopardize entire storylines. So producers began shifting focus, filming backup plots that highlighted Elizabeth's siblings, giving more screen time to Chuck, and slowly crafting a narrative that could continue without Andre. By the time he delivered his fiery on-camera declaration, TLC had already made its choice. His fate had been sealed. He wasn't the man walking away from the show. He was the man who had already been replaced. Elizabeth didn't know this at first. In her mind, Andre had sacrificed their future for the sake of protecting their family from exploitation. It wasn't until weeks later, when whispers circulated that TLC had been planning to fire him all along, that she realized the truth. Her husband had lied. He had claimed power where there was none. He had gambled with their livelihood without her knowledge. And he had left her to pick up the shattered pieces of not just her career, but her very identity. Her emotional breakdown deepened. To the outside world, Elizabeth tried to maintain an image of calm, posting polished Instagram stories filled with inspirational quotes, curated family photos, and subtle nods to choosing peace over chaos. But insiders revealed that behind closed doors, she cried nightly. A close friend told In Touch she believed her husband had misled her. In reality, TLC had already decided, even though he told her he was leaving for their family. She was taken by surprise. It wasn't just about money, it was about betrayal. Her reputation, her safety net, her role as one of 90 Day's leading faces, all of it had been compromised. "I stood by him through everything," she reportedly confided to Jen, "and now he's ruined it all. Without TLC, I have no idea who I am." Her family predictably seized the moment. Becky mocked Andre's narrative, telling Elizabeth over the phone, "He didn't quit, Liz." Charlie, still bitter from years of feuding, laughed when the news of Andre's firing broke, allegedly saying, "TLC finally woke up. He got fired, and you're the one left to clean it up. Goodbye." Jen, though more sympathetic, warned Elizabeth that standing by Andre might permanently damage her reputation. "You have a chance to rebuild, but not if you let him drag you down," she reportedly told her sister. The words cut deep. For the first time, Elizabeth was faced with the possibility that her siblings might have been right all along. The financial fallout was immediate and brutal. Their 6-figure contract renewal evaporated overnight. Sponsorships and influencer deals dried up. Elizabeth's social media, once a reliable source of income, became a war zone of criticism, forcing her to turn off comments on multiple posts. Andre attempted to pivot back to real estate, but his television persona proved toxic. Clients balked at working with a man known for aggression and arrogance. Their once comfortable lifestyle, built on TLC paychecks and brand deals, quickly crumbled. They had been living TLC rich, as one insider put it, but without TLC money, the facade fell apart. Debt mounted. Tension rose. The cracks in their marriage widened. Andre, defiant as ever, doubled down. On social media, he railed against TLC, calling the network exploitative, accusing producers of fakery and insisting he had left on his own terms to protect his family. But the louder he shouted, the less fans seemed to believe him. His narrative of heroism collapsed under the weight of leaked insider reports, executive whispers, and mounting evidence that he had been fired. Reddit threads ridiculed him, Instagram users called out his ego, and Twitter mocked his desperate spin. Elizabeth, caught in the middle, retreated further from public life, reducing her online presence and quietly attempting to salvage her brand. Their marriage, already strained, descended into near-constant arguments. Trust, money, image, every issue became a battlefield. Andre refused to admit defeat, clinging to his pride while Elizabeth felt deceived and trapped. Insiders claimed their marriage was under more pressure than ever before, with Elizabeth privately contemplating whether she might accept a solo opportunity with TLC if one were offered. Rumors swirled of a potential spin-off centered on her, her siblings, and her father, a series that could reignite her career while leaving Andre behind. Nothing had been confirmed, but the speculation alone was enough to add fuel to the fire of their crumbling relationship. And so, as TLC moved forward with new couples and fresh drama, Andre and Elizabeth were left behind, their empire in ruins, their family fractured, and their future uncertain. Andre remained defiant, insisting to anyone who would listen that he had quit on his own terms, that he had protected his family, that he had made the right choice. Elizabeth, meanwhile, stood at a crossroads. She could remain loyal to the man who had cost her everything, or she could carve out a new path, reclaim her identity, and step into the spotlight on her own. The fans, divided and exhausted, waited with bated breath. Would Elizabeth find redemption? Would Andre finally face reality? Or would this scandal be remembered as the final, devastating chapter in one of 90 Day Fiancé's most notorious love stories? Because in the end, this was more than a reality TV meltdown. This was pride colliding with truth, control unraveling into chaos, and a marriage tested by betrayal, greed, and illusion. The cameras captured Andre's fiery words. But what they couldn't capture was the deeper tragedy, that Elizabeth, the woman who had stood by him through every feud, every insult, every battle, was left to face the wreckage alone. And as fans debated online, executives smirked behind closed doors, knowing the truth all along. Andre hadn't walked away. He had been cut out, written off, erased. And no matter how loudly he protested, no matter how bravely he tried to spin the story, the reality remained. TLC had ended the chapter, and Elizabeth's world was the one left in ruins.